Hi, and welcome to the Flex with Aaliyah. Today, I'm going to be talking about recovery, specifically my recovery from that 100-mile race. Usually, I tend to jump right back into things, to training, competing, but this situation was a bit different. If you're curious what that recovery looked like, or maybe you're doing events where you need to recover and you're not sure how, this is a perfect episode to tune into. I'm going to kick things off with a quote or two. This first one is the best performance enhancer is free. It's called sleep. Prioritize rest, recover strong, and come back ready to train. Yeah, the best performance enhancer is free. That nutrition, that hydration, the recovery phase, getting your sleep in is all very important. Three things that I really had to dial in on during my recovery. So this is a very great quote that will eventually lead into discussion points. Another one is rest. It's part of the program. Remember, muscles are torn in the gym, fed in the kitchen, and built in the bed. There is a lot of recovery that happens while you're sleeping. It is very important. And considering I was doing 100 miles and I didn't get any sleep, that was a huge impact on me. That kind of fudged my schedule a bit and had to refigure out that sleep schedule and get back on track. I'm going to stick with those two quotes and leave it there. A huge part of that recovery was sleep, especially for me, considering I didn't get any. Once the race was over and I made my way back to the hotel, there were only three things that I really wanted to do: shower, eat, and sleep. I couldn't do them all at the same time, which I wish I could somehow. I did shower and then lay in the bathtub with the shower pouring down on me. I may or may not have fallen asleep in the shower. So there we go. Check two boxes right there. It was a very minimal rest, we'll say. So then I had to eat. Eating was a very funky business afterwards. I was really hungry, so hungry that I was getting nauseous and headaches. I finally got to a place, was able to order some food, and not to my surprise, I couldn't eat that much. My stomach was being very finicky. It didn't want certain foods, but certain things sounded delicious to me, like a burger or fries. I could take the bite of the burger, but the fries were no go. I don't know if it was the texture or whatnot, but my body was strongly rejecting certain foods. And I hadn't had a lot of vegetables in those couple of days, and I love my vegetables, so I did get a salad. That was a hard no as well. I got multiple things so that way I could take it with me back. I ended up eating this appetizer of buffalo chicken dip and pita slices. So that held me for a little bit. And then I went back to the hotel and I crashed hard. It felt like it was 9:10 p.m. and it was really only maybe 3 or 4. Crawled into bed, passed out for maybe 3-4 hours. Woke up, nibbled on some food, passed out again, woke up, nibbled on some food again. That was kind of the cycle of recovery right afterwards. Sleep, eat, sleep, eat, sleep, eat. So much so that even when I got back on the road the next morning to drive to Virginia, I had to pull over within an hour to take a nap at a rest stop. I was really trying to listen to my body and not force myself to drive through hunger or sleep. So I pulled over, slept into any alarm. Whenever I woke up, I woke up. It was usually 30 minutes to an hour. And then I would get back on the road and start driving again. And those first 2 days of travel back definitely took a bit of a toll on my body. I was trying to eat as best as I could. Like I said, my stomach was being very finicky. It didn't even want crackers or hard pretzels, items that typically settle my stomach. It was just being very picky. Nothing sweet. Didn't want cookies, ice cream. I ended up having a can of soup in the car and cough drops, water. Those are the main things that I was kind of trying to refuel with on my drive back. I definitely really wanted protein. I know that. Since most of the food I was consuming was carb based and liquid, I really wanted some either chicken or red meat, something, which I knew I wasn't really going to get until later. But there's some pieces of chicken in my soup. I did tread lightly with a chicken burrito from Buc-ee's. Now, I didn't know how that was going to go, but in the moment, I was like, I need meat. So I bought it. I took a bite, waited a couple minutes. I was like, okay, I can handle this. And I just kind of nibbled on it for 5 hours. And I never actually finished it. But for the most part, my stomach handled it. I was worried because it was a burrito, but I was marked safe from this Buc-ee's burrito. Later, I think my stomach got a little like, ooh, what is in me? But it held up okay. Along my journey back, one of the important things was movement. Even though I had a long drive ahead of me, I planned out my route with Planet Fitness stops so I could get out and walk for a little bit. I knew I was going to be tight. My body was already tight from the 100 miles, but then I'm sitting in my car after all that movement. Things are just going to get tighter and crankier. And I definitely didn't want to get any grumpier from that drive. That walking really helped my body recover and loosen things up, and even my mentality, which was great. I didn't hit all my steps every day, but I did get over 10,000 during those drives, which is pretty impressive since I drove for 9 hours and such. Those are my travel days and how I manage recovery. Get out and walk, slept when I wanted to, as much as I wanted to, and ate what I could. Once I got back home, I did have to kind of jump right back on my work schedule, which pros and cons, it does help you acclimate a little bit better, force yourself into the schedule, but it also doesn't allow for maybe the full recovery that you need. I did get a little bit of a head cold, which I was fighting for 4 days, not during the race, not immediately after, but when I got back Tuesday, Wednesday, that's when it started to kick in. I think part of it was the lack of sleep and maybe going from that 85, 90 temperature back to like 30 degree temperature. Besides getting back on my routine, I maintained movement, sleeping whenever I wanted to, and working on my eating. Since it had been really challenging for me to consume food, that is what I focused on. Whatever I could eat, I ate. It might have been soup. It might have been rice cakes. I had some chicken patties I had made. Started getting the vegetables back in. Energy was a little iffy because of the lack of food and the lack of sleep, but it eventually came around. I actually think the head cold took more of the energy out of me than anything else. When it came to movement, what I started to do besides walking was biking, some core circuits like hanging leg raises, sit-ups, decline sit-ups, planks, weighted planks, push-ups. I would create these short, maybe 3 rounds, which ended up being 10-minute circuits. So it was super low-key, low intensity. I didn't need anything high. I wasn't doing any jumping, no plyo work. And then if I felt really bad afterwards, which I didn't, but the head cold, I told you, was taking a toll on me, I'd walk. I made sure I walked every day. Then my circuits got a little bit more intense with movements, not necessarily expenditure. I did a 25-minute EMOM. The reps were all short, but I started doing some pull-ups, some cleans, some deadlifts, push-ups, and there was enough rest that I was not exerting myself. I also included biking, but it was zone 2, easy pedaling, stuff like that. On Sunday, so a week after, that's when I started running again. Not a lot. It was really an hour of mainly walking. I would walk for 4 minutes and then I would run for one. And I did that for a duration of an hour. I did shift that 1 minute run to a 2 minute run at some point just because I felt good. And that's mainly what my workout recovery has been. My body always has done better with movement. And I started doing those lifts because my back was getting cranky, my hip was getting cranky. I was like, I'm just going to do some lifting, very light, low intensity. And the cranky back stuff dissipated very quickly with the movement. I'm a firm believer that during recovery, movement is best. Now, you need to be smart with it. Don't go run another 5K or do all this jumping because my Achilles was still tender. But the walking and just doing the lifting helped my mind, helped my body. It also helped me sleep a little bit better since, not that I needed help sleeping, but it just induced a deeper sleep for me. That's really what my recovery focused on. Sleeping, getting calories back in to help repair my muscles, and movement, because movement is amazing. Those are the three key components I focused on during my recovery. And my body feels pretty good. People were asking me, were like, how sore are you? I wasn't that sore. Sunday, immediately after, I felt horrible. My one knee was cranky. My Achilles was inflamed. My IT band was really tight, pulling on my knee. But every day with the walking and the movement, things felt normal. I'd say my Achilles is still a little bit tender, but for the most part, I'm doing pretty good considering I did 100 miles and that I have a race this weekend. Shh. But that's me. You need to listen to your body. You might need more rest, maybe 2 weeks. Some people take 3 to 6 weeks to recover from a 100-mile race. But you really need to tune into what your body's telling you and pay attention to that. These lead back to the quote that the best performance enhancer is free. It's called sleep. Sleep is huge because that is when your body is rebuilding your muscles. It's so important. So if you're cutting that sleep short, try to add even 20, 30 minutes, and it's going to help you. That concludes this episode about my recovery for the 100 miles. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions about my adventure, whether it was the recovery, preparation, something during, reach out. I'd love to talk about it. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and I will catch you next time on The Flex with Aaliyah. And of course, stay flexy.